Alonso, of course, win the title last year. Ben Guevara, another one as well. So special talents coming up through the ranks in that spot. One of them, of course, is Máximo Quílez, who had a weekend to forget, really, in Barcelona. It was one of those weekends where he had a heavy crash on Friday, which really, I wouldn't say set the tone for his weekend, but they made a big mistake. Well, it wasn't necessarily big, but it had big consequences anyway in the latter laps of the race. Who was he getting out of shape at the final corner there, Quílez? That cost him a chance of fighting for the podiums, and he's now 102 points away from the championship lead. And unfortunately, you've got to say it was a slim chance anyway, Kiko, but now it really is a two-horse race for the championship. Unless things drastically change, the fortunes of Rueda and Viqueiras do diminish, which aren't going to really happen, you got to feel. So Quílez, you have to feel we'll have to wait until next year to challenge again for the championship, but don't take anything away from Quílez. He can still have a magical end to the year after what's been a phenomenal rookie season.
The only thing is that in the Fireways, strange things do happen. We get strange weather out in the places like Japan, Indonesia, Australia, Malaysia, and they are all to come. 4 rounds across the next 6 weeks, so we are going to be very busy bees indeed, and up here in commentary as well for us, keeping on our toes. We're looking at Jose Antonio Rueda, Valentin Peroni and Jacob Rulston. Rulston is 5th place at the moment. He's the best of those 3 that you see on screen. Rueda is 9th. And Valentin Peroni down in 11th. This is Alvaro Carpe. Of course, Carpe way down the order this morning. Where is Carpe right now? 22nd place, so a little bit of work still to do for Carpe, but we're looking at KTM. They are the Constructors' champions already. Not a massive shock at all to anyone. KTM have absolutely wiped the floor with the opposition this year, it's got to be said. And KTM deserving Constructors' champions already with 7 rounds still to go. It's a remarkable achievement.
Absolutely, yeah, top 6 in the championship. Rueda, Viqueiras, Quílez, Munoz, Carpe and Kelso all riding KTM's, then come a trio of Honda riders for Sato, Almanza and Fernandez, and then the likes of Peroni and Yamanaka just behind them. Peroni goes up into P2 behind David Almanza, who crashed this morning, but he's going well this afternoon. And David Munoz, another rider who had a disappointing end to the Catalan Grand Prix, and who is, along with Quílez now, you feel out of title contention, chasing the rider who is still firmly in with a shot of the title, the number 36 of Angel Viqueiras, who comes into this weekend as a hot favourite after his credentials from last year's win, double on lap penalty to victory. You don't do that all too often. Rueda, of course, went from long lap to P2 last time out, to go from a double long lap to the victory to claim his first win in Grand Prix racing is some doing for Viqueiras last year, and he did pinpoint this race after the win last time out as a circuit that he really loves, really suits his style, and a real chance again for him to take more points off Rueda. And he's started well in this afternoon session, was 10th and had a quiet session, let's say, this morning for Viqueiras, but of course FP1 is all about bedding yourself into the weekend, getting that feeling. Of course, he rode a Honda here last year, now on a KTM, so different type of riding style. And he just looks across to David Munoz. Viqueiras sat out of that lap over turn 10, Toronto, and then Munoz sat up and Viqueiras gave him a little head shake. So yeah, not the best of friends Viqueiras early in the session.
Yeah, well, we need a bit of needle here. Oh, that's a shame. No, a depth feeler has gone down. Now, I reckon that's up at Tremonto, that tricky right-hander, kind of 2 corners, but it is all taken more or less as 1, turn 9 through turn 10. David Almanza, I'll tell you what, is on some proper run here. He's looking very, very good indeed. That is Noah Detwiler walking away from the scene of the accident. The yellow flags are in, and now he's remonstrating with the marshals, so that's always gone down well if you look historically at riders getting a bit of a slap on the wrist, or perhaps a little fine indeed. Let's have a look what happened. Is he going to slide through? Oh, he's out on the long lap and straight out the front door in a very, very peculiar set of circumstances. Noah Detwiler, what on earth happened there?
Yeah, that's a strange one. Was expecting the classic turn 10 front end washout, just as we saw Dennis Foggia do at turn 4. 2 crashing hotspots really here at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, but just looked like he was cruising on the outsides. Not much grip in terms of, well, compared to the racing line anyway. Asked for a bit of throttle, and over the bike he was chucked. So good to see he walked away from that dead-wheeler, but yeah, a bit of a strange one.
Just to talk about Angel Piqueras, of course, we saying he was down in 10th this morning. That's not a big surprise. He's only been up inside the top 3 out of 6 times out of the 15 rounds we've had so far. On a Friday morning, he's only top 2 FP1s all year. So Angel Piqueras, I wouldn't be too concerned about him at the moment. The problem would be if he finds himself down in Q1 again. Or is it a problem? Because last time he came through, topped everything, and then went on to win. So pole and victory via Q1 seems to be the Angel Piqueras way. We take David Almanza across the line again. That's the fastest time of this weekend so far, 41.009. I said David Almanza is on a bit of a run. That's the 4th or 5th lap that we've seen now where he's been able to consistently be in and around the low 41s. This race pace looks a bit serious from the number 22 at the moment.
Yeah, this morning I did look at Rueda's pace, and he set 3 consecutive lap times at the end of the session that were all quick enough to see him finish P1 as Moody jumps into the top 14. This is Adrian Fernandez, of course, teammate to David Almanza. But good stuff from Almanza this morning. 3.5 tenths clear of the chasing pack, and as you rightly say, Kiko, 1:41.009 is comfortably the quickest lap time we've seen this weekend in Moto3. 1:41.217 was Rueda's pace this morning, and you can see Almanza is just shadowing the 2 Red Bull KTM coloured machines of Rueda and Valentin Peroni. Here is the 22, there's the 73 just shooting through your picture, and that is turn 1. A tricky corner to get right here. We do see plenty of mistakes, riders running on through the asphalt on the outside, crashing of course as well. A tight and technical start to the lap. It's a bit of circuit that Alex Marquez said yesterday that he seems to just can't really nail. The rest of the lap is okay, but it is a tricky section to begin this lap, and then it of course opens up through 4, 5, and then you get that kink through turn 6, and away you go down to turn 8.
It's quite an unnatural opening to the lap, but that's mainly because historically this track was going the other way, all the way through the 90s and 2000s. So it's undergone a lot of change since then, has the Misano World Circuit, but we love it all the same. It really is. It's our final hurrah, isn't it, before we all head out towards Japan. It is for us this year, and then on to Indonesia, a week off, Australia, and then Malaysia, and then we're back in Europe. We've got Portimao, the last weekend ever with Moto3, and then Valencia to bookend what has been a memorable 22-round bumper season here in MotoGP. And then hibernation for a couple of months. All these guys will be training just as hard as we're eating, and then yeah, packing the bags again and out towards next. It's a busy world in MotoGP, and Misano just finishing off the big middle part of this season before the final third really kicks off.
Yeah, you mentioned the pre-season test twice now in this broadcast. Let's not mention 2026 again for a while.
Those groans you could hear are Elliot York just sighing. You're going to call him Simon if he carries on.
I don't want to think about 2026 just yet. A long way to go, of course, in 2025. And this Moto3 title chase, as you said, is a 2-horse race as things stand.
I'm only thinking about it because I might not make it. Coming through, this is the fast right-handers at the end of the lap. Max Kilo's making them look very fast indeed at the moment. A rider in 9th place has got a bit of traffic. That looks like David Almanza to me, just getting out of the way through turn 15. Indeed it was. Kilos is tracking Valentin Peroni as it stands. He comes through the final corner. We've seen lots of drama in the final corner over the years. Kilos comes to the line. I think he just about avoided the green. Comes across the line, moves up into 4th place and into the 1:41.60. So a new personal best lap for Max Kilos. That's a very good job indeed. The time in turn on the left-hand side of your screen, we say it every round, but just in case you can't work it out or exactly why some riders have different backgrounds to their position in this session, the top 14 moves through to Q2. They are reflected with those white backgrounds in their position on the left-hand side. Anyone else, such as Dennis Foggia, who's just come across the line in 15th place and down, they all go through Q1. But that is all provisional, of course, at the moment. We are coming up to the halfway point in this session. Almanza's leading the way, Munoz and Peroni are top three. Quiles and Piqueras, Rueda Furusato, Ralston. Great to see Jacob Ralston up there in 7th place ahead of Carraro. Quiles has just had his lap time deleted for exceeding track limits, so he did go a little bit too wide on the last corner. Kelso 10th, having been second this morning. Yamanaka and Fernandez, Lunetta up inside the top 13, and Roche Moody. Another look here at Noah Detwiler's accident, and that is a rather spectacular low-speed high side for the Swiss rider.
They're the ones that can catch you out and cause injuries, aren't they? The low speeds, high sides. Didn't even look like he was on the track there. That's the way, of course, where the long lap penalty loop. He wasn't that far out wide, but obviously just sat up out of it, looking behind and trying to get back onto the racing line and down out of turn 10 and into 11-12 to complete the lap time or get back to the pits potentially. And yeah, unfortunately there was not a lot of rear end grip, or just asked too much of the throttle too soon, and the KTM spat him over the top, the Swiss rider. He is back to the box and looking uninjured, which is obviously good news. But where is he on the timing screens? P24, 2.6 seconds off, as Quiles then does complete a lap time, and that's a better one as things stand. That we didn't see the lap times, we might have exceeded track limits somewhere.
I think he did. I think he was out at the last corner. He was definitely out in the blue. It was whether or not he managed to drag it back in time. But yeah, Max Quiles definitely using all the track and a little bit more there as we look down in towards the Leopard box and area in pit lane. Almanza it is who's top, and look at that run now. That is pretty spectacular until lap 7.
Yeah, good run, 41.009, comfortably quicker than all his other lap times, so he really nailed that one, did David Almanza. Incidentally, Quiles still has his lap time, and that's 1.1 seconds quicker than he managed this morning. Talking of Angel Piqueras having a little bit of a quiet morning, Quiles certainly did. He was down in P17 and 1:42.362 was the number 28's best lap time, so he's found a good chunk of pace this afternoon. Plenty of grip out there, it looks like, and heading into the final 15 minutes, we're going to start to see some time attacks laid down. I'm pretty sure we're going to get into the 140, we've got no doubt about that. It's just how far into the 140s we do get. We mentioned Lunetta this morning, didn't we, Kiko, and how impressed we were with his outing, his comeback over in Barcelona, and Lunetta too was just pleased to be back and very, very happy to be back in that front group. He did say, if you'd have asked me a month ago if I'd be in the lead group fighting for a potential podium in Barcelona, I wouldn't have believed you. He's obviously been through the mill a little bit with that injury he picked up over in Aston, so good to see him back in Barcelona, and of course back for a special weekend for the 658 Squad Sports team.
And he was straight into Q2 and P10 last time out as well. This is the site of his first front row, as you alluded to earlier. Last year it was 6th and 9th in both the Grand Prix here at Misano. Of course, we had one for the San Marino GP and another just for one time in 2025, and it's a track that they all know. And Luca Lunetta from Rome in Italy, it is his second home round of the season, and he'll be looking to try and make things a bit better than how his Mugello one went. If you're wondering why we just stopped, I've laid back on the chair up here in commentary and managed to break the chair. I am losing weight, at least trying to, but apparently this chair has just said no. I'll put that over there. Let's file that away. My dad's a chippy, he'll sort that out. Chippy is in a carpenter, not someone who works in a fish and chip shop. But, well, I'm in for an uncomfortable 15 minutes. I'm going to see pit lane. Fancy a pit lane reporter.
Warning to Neil Morrison and Matt Burter, who also sit in that chair. It's not going to be as comfortable as it was before.
Sorry, boys.
So a crash for David Almanza, a crash for Noah Detwiler and Dennis Wadu, and a crash for Kiko Giles in the commentary box as well.
Commentator okay, but I think I'll be more comfortable on a stretcher, please, if Dr. Charter is listening anywhere in this paddock. There's Angel Piqueras, his chair fully intact, and the number 36 is in P5 at the moment. That's much more like it. Adrian Fernandez just moved up into 12th place. Adrian Fernandez, we see this every now and then from Fernandez. Just goes out and does his own thing, does his own work, goes out on the track and works alone, and that's a really good trait to have here in Moto3. You don't want to be leaving it late to try and get that banker lap in. Now Adrian Fernandez just improved that time around to move up into 12th place, but if he can get this next lap nailed, he might move himself further up into the top 10.
Yeah, we have seen Fernandez do this before, haven't we? Especially last time out in Barcelona, and a few times. Another rider who's tired for Osato, who likes to lap and own as well. Of course, yellow flag's always prominent in the final minutes of time attack mode when the riders are pushing that little bit extra to get into that top 14. So to get that bank lap time in early is sometimes quite important. We saw that for Osato last time out, I think, as well, and he dropped to P13. Obviously good enough to get to that top 14, but he had that lap time in early doors. Rueda, there's a reminder of the championship standing, 64 points back to Piqueras. Still a very healthy lead, isn't it, Kiko? I don't really see it going any other way as things stand, other than the championship trophy at the end of the season in Rueda's hands. But if Piqueras can just keep chipping away, taking 5 points in Barcelona was good enough, as Fernandez does get another bank lap time in, up to P4. Good job done from Fernandez. But as I said before, this is a weekend you feel like Piqueras has to pounce again on a circuit he's won at before. Clearly confident after Barcelona, and he said after the troubles he had a little bit earlier on in the season with not feeling quite at home on that KTM, he now feels like it's his bike and he feels super comfortable everywhere he goes. So Piqueras, especially as you have mentioned, Pico, a lot of different things, weather, different kind of circuits over on our next stop in Japan, Indonesia, Phillip Islands, in Malaysia. A lot of things can happen over there. So for Piqueras to head to Japan and get that below 60 points potentially, or get it towards the 50-point mark, will be very important, and then Rueda can start worrying a little bit more.
I think the big thing for the riders, and this is what my consensus is, having spoken to a few of them up and down the pit lane, is that momentum's key going to the flyways. You've got to be going in there with a bit of form rolling. You don't want to be coming into there having had 2 DNFs. You don't want to be coming in there having had your worst results of your 2025 season. You want to be going in there on some kind of high, some kind of confidence, and just ride that crest of the wave. The problem is that everyone's thinking that, and as we saw last time out, David Almanza and Adrian Fernandez are not in title contention. They are in contention to be top 100, top 5, something like that, but they're not in contention to take this title, barring acts of God out there in the last 7 rounds. But they can be the fly in the ointment. They've got no allegiance. Honda are not in this title race at all. It's all going to go KTM's way, again, unless something drastic happens. So the Honda guys are going to be out there to prove themselves. They're riding for their future, some of them as well. They're riding for their own title, their own sponsors. If you go to the flyaways, it's a good chance to strike whilst the iron is quite hot. I would be surprised if we get something completely mad, like lots of DNFs for Jose Antonio Rueda. He's a rider that doesn't make mistakes. But it's about packing out those places. If Piqueras wins this weekend, that's 3 and 4. He goes to Motegi as your favourite. Jose Antonio Rueda, if he's somewhere like 5th or 6th this weekend, that's another, that gap comes down to below 50. You've still got 6 rounds to go. That can be whittled down to the point where, if it's not done in the flyaways for Jose Antonio Rueda, the pressure mounts there as well. And if it's not done in Portimao, you've not got long before you're back out on track in Valencia. The title weighs heavy. We've seen it before. 10 years ago, 2015, when we had Danny Kent and Miguel Oliveira. That was Danny Kent's title to lose, and he did nearly lose it.
Exactly, yeah. Momentum is massive, you feel, in any championship chase, but as things stand, the momentum has shifted a little bit towards Angel Piqueras, and admittedly, it does absolutely need to. Now, what's going on here in the Red Bull KTM IO box? That's not a second-hand looking KTM for Alvaro Carpi, but some big changes being made down there. So that's interesting to see where is Carpe as things stand. Yeah, it's P23 down there, 2.4 seconds off. He's only completed 4 laps, even though Detbiler, who's crashed, has completed more laps. So something not quite right there for Carpe. Glad we picked that up before the chase for the top 14 begins, but doesn't look good for Carpe, unfortunately, who's just lost his way a little bit in his rookie season. It's nothing too much has gone wrong, but he's just lost that edge, and they've been trying to find different setups and it's not quite worked out. So they've just lost away a little bit on that side of the box. So it looks like Carpi might have a struggle on here to get inside that top 14 and straight into Q2. We'll wait and see.
Just wondered if that was a gearbox problem or something, because a sensor problem would have stopped him out on track, you'd have felt, and a gearbox maybe he's been able to get that back. But regardless of what it is, Alvaro Carpe is out of this session until further notice, it seems. As you can see, the MSI Racing team, these are our new swordsmen. Whatever. Hancock Vaqueras has moved up to Moto2, of course, for 2026.
Certainly has a good-looking team, of course, in Moto2. Here is a close-up then of what's going on. There's clearly something going on. Yeah, you can see the gearbox.
All the cogs down there.
Yeah.
And,
so that's not an easy or quick fix by the looks of things for Carpe, who's just sitting at the back of the box there, patiently waiting to go out. But as things stand, he might struggle to get back out. So not the start to the weekend that Alvaro Carpe would have been hoping for. Now then, this is a freight train and a half, isn't it? And now Vaqueras is in there, so David Munoz in there as well. As you can see there, Alvaro Carpe looking tad disappointed, understandably so. Yeah, that 83 machine, also we can't quite see. The Red Bull mechanics make better doors than windows, and understandably so. As Rueda, then his teammate, pulls back into pit lane. Let the games begin on a Friday afternoon in Moto3. David Munoz continues on his way, and he's got some clear track ahead of him as well. That's Nico Carraro tucked behind the 64. So what can Munoz muster up here? He is in P3, doesn't necessarily need a lap time as such, and he gets it a little bit wrong going into turn one. So yes, the games have officially begun in Moto3 practice.
Yeah, and Rueda's just rolled down pit lane as they go in synchrony down pit lane there. Foggia is right behind them. So Foggia has earmarked Rueda as the rider to follow in all of this. And Foggia, where is he? Down in 18th place. Oh, every picture tells a story, and that is not a happy one, I'm afraid. That looks like Alvaro Carpe is going via Q1 unless they can get that sorted, but that looked pretty terminal to me. And Alvaro Carpe is going to be in a world of bother tomorrow morning when we go green for Moto3 qualifying at around 12:50 local time. Of course, don't miss that in the company of Lewis tomorrow. And you're down in pit lane for that, aren't you? Don't forget about you.
Don't forget little old me.
Little old you. Little for sure. Not as little as your other pit lane reporting colleague, though.
Yeah, thank you.
Giacomo Appleyard. Coming through Cavone then, and it is time to try and see who is going to go through and who's not. We haven't had a lap time in yet, and all these guys are just mucking about, really. Misano is a nightmare for all of this as well, because you can genuinely give this another go. Genuinely make a mistake through the fast stuff at the end of the lap, and then you're coming back on, and then you're balking everyone coming through turn 14. So, and also Jacob Wilson won it wide there. So this lap's gone away for him. He'll start. Oh dear, there was that contact. Vaqueras and Quiles there, down in towards turn one of the park chicane. Well, that will have got the attention of the number 28, who currently sits second in this session. Well, Quiles' lap has completely gone away from him, but we just joined that a bit late. Jorge Martinez Aspar not impressed down there in the Aspar box, so we'll have another look at that if we can. Further behind, I was just about to say that David Almanza is starting his lap, and just behind him, I believe, was Eddie O'Shea. So could be on for a couple of upsets here. Some of the riders that normally find themselves down and out in Q1 can make it work and follow some of the faster riders round to bag in a very, very important lap time here in the final 5 minutes of Moto3 practice.
Yeah, I'd like to have another look at what happened there down at turn one between Vaqueras and Quiles. Looked like Vaqueras just pulled over. Potentially didn't see Quiles. Let's wait and see what happened with that one. Rueda then has found some clean air. He's got Dennis Foggia tucked behind him, the wily old Italian, following Rueda through pit lane and doing a good job of it as well. Rueda doing well, actually, to think, you know what, yeah, I don't want to tow everyone around, so I'll dive into pit lane, get some free air and some decent track time. Munoz is on a good lap time. He's P3. His teammate, though, Guido Pini, is in P16, six tenths off around this lap time. Just trying to pinpoint where Pini is in this group. I think it's a little bit further up. Yeah, he's chasing Marcos Ruda on the number 69 machine, a wild card rider this weekend. Almanza, though, a great third split, a 10th and a half up on his own time. Will he extend his lead at the top of the practice standings? No, he won't lose his time in the final split. Guido Pini does jump into that top 14 in 11th, tied for Sato up into P5.
Big move that from Pini, because that just pushed down Luca Lanetta, who's now right on the cusp of being usurped out of the top 14. We follow Jose Antonio Ueda, just lost a little bit of time there in that third sector. Let's see what he does to the line. Jose Antonio Ueda is dragging Joel Kelso along as well. Ueda goes third, Kelso goes P2 on a 41.1. The fast, whoa, that's getting backed in, just gets it pulled down to the apex. Fastest time last year, as we take another look at a very sorry sight. Under there is the number 83 of Alvaro Carpe, with his head in his hands in the back of the box, and that is all about he can do, I think, in Moto3 practice. He can watch on through gritted teeth, but it doesn't matter. He's going through Q1. Fastest time last year with a 40.909 set by Adrian Fernandez in the equivalent of the same session last year. So there is time left in this track at the moment with less than 3 minutes to go. We ride with Quiles, who's found himself back ahead, I think, of Angel Piqueras. And Quiles is looking over at him. I reckon Quiles fancies a scrap here, but we'll have to wait and see how this all unfolds. Piqueras through the third sector. He's going to come in a minute. He's on a personal best first half of the lap. Does he maintain it through the third sector point? Yes, he does. He's a quarter of a second off, though, at the moment. Quiles' lap time is cancelled, but it wasn't relevant anyway. Piqueras coming through 15, runs it right out to the curb. Piqueras is down in 9th. That is definitely not safe at the moment. As we come through turn 16, Piqueras, be careful not to run out onto the green. And he comes across the line. Does he move himself up? He doesn't, but he improves his time. So Angel Piqueras, a 41.623. I'm not sure that's going to be good enough. Across the line for Fernandez, who was your fastest here 12 months ago in the afternoon session. He's gone third, so it's Leopards 1 and 3. Joel Kelso is the meat in the sandwich there, the number 66. Ueda again across the line. This is a fast lap, but it's not going to improve him. Well, he improves his time, but not his place. 5th for him. Foggia moves up into 11th, and that pushes Lanetta out.
Yeah, Yamanaka then on the cut line in P14. He missed out on Q2 automatically over in Barcelona. Came from the back of the grid to be in that podium fight in the race, but Yamanaka will not be wanting to go through Q1 again. Same goes for Luca Lanetta on home turf for himself and the team as well. For Osato's lap time got cancelled. He's back down to P9. That promotes Angel Piqueras up one to P8, but they're not quite safe just yet with just over a minute to go. I'm looking to see there's plenty of yellow crash helmets on our timing screens. Our man is improving, Fernandez is improving, Ogden was improving, Buchanan is improving, Ralston is improving, and Eddie O'Shea is only 6/10 off, around half of that as well. So plenty of improvements incoming here, so expect to see some changes towards the lower end potentially of that top 14.
Yamanaka just moved his way through ahead of Guido Pini on the racetrack. Scott Ogden is right behind him as well. So we've got riders that are coming through. These guys will get another lap. They're coming through 15 now. Yamanaka could really do with this. 4/10 off at the moment. That would put him well up inside the top 8 positions if he can hold it. Disaster for Luca Lanetta, who's just had his lap time cancelled to track limit. So he's got one last ditch attempt to try and squeeze in to the top 14. Yamanaka moves up into the top 10. Ogden as well. Lanetta and Pini are out. The home heroes have gone down to 15th and 16th. It's a Leopard 1-2 as Almanza is joined by Fernandez right at the top of this. These guys are on their last flying laps. As it stands, Kelso is third. Peroni has gone fourth, and Rueda again improving late on in 5th, but only improving his time, not in position.
Yeah, that final sector then for Rueda was losing a couple of tenths roughly in that final split compared to Almanza's time. So Almanza has clearly got those two left-handers at the end of the lap time absolutely nailed, and turn 14 is in there as well, the tight right-hander, and then you flick it right through 15 then 16. But Rueda is pretty much safe and sound in P5, but we've got many improvers. Yamanaka is improving, Belford is only 6/10 off through the first split. Rossi's improving for Osato, is well within touch And yeah, Arthur could definitely do with this lap time. He's in P10. I don't see him dropping outside the top 14 as things stand, but he certainly needs a lap time to definitely nail a place in that top 14.
This is Guido Pina, the 94. He's coming through Cavone now, and he's got a marker of Ryusei Yamanaka up ahead of him. He's going to be coming through the third sector very, very soon. And at the moment, 3.5 tenths off, that would put him up inside the top 14, and he's gained a load of time through that third sector. He's just 2 tenths off, so Guido Pini, unless he exceeds track limit, makes a complete hash of it, or he's caught up behind Yamanaka here, who is also on a very big improving lap, should be moving through. We look at Nicola Carraro, but he's 7 tenths off and not on personal best, so it doesn't look like he's going to move through. Racing to the line, Yamanaka, does he improve to 10th? Yes, he does. Pini moves up to 11th. That in turn pushes Foggia out because Lanetta has just put in a final last lap attack to go 14th. Angel Piqueras, very, very lucky in the end to come across the line, down in 12th, but safely through into Q2 tomorrow. David Munoz comes across the line. Munoz is in 9th place, so he's well and truly in. I think Foggia, Lanetta's had his lap taken away. What a shame. I thought Foggia had lost the place, gained a place. It's Lanetta's expense. Ogden right on the cusp, but the checkered flag has been taken by all. And unfortunately, Luca Lanetta, I think, has just had his lap time cancelled. He is Q1 bound.
Yeah, Foggia did improve on his final lap time. It does look like Lanetta's lap time has been cancelled. That is unfortunate for the Italian, just shooting through your timing screens there. But what a performance on day one from David Almanza, the Leopards racing team. Look on, that's Mirjag Couture, who I might be speaking to tomorrow in qualifying. But yeah, David Almanza pretty much half a second clear of the chasing pack. That last lap went a little bit under the radar, as we said, and backing him up to his teammate Adrian Fernandez, so a perfect outing for Leopard Honda. 1-2.
Is it contract time by any chance? We are expecting, of course, that there's a bit of a change coming in Leopard Racing, and I don't think neither Almanza or Fernandez, definitely not both of them, can stay. One of them's going to have to stay, but Almanza leads another session. Very, very strong stuff indeed from your Catalan pole sitter, completing the top 3. Joel Kelso, a welcome return to the top 3 on Friday. Second this morning, third this afternoon.
Certainly so. You mentioned contract time. Joel Kelso potentially looking for a ride in 2026 as well. So important Fridays here for the top 3, as to be said. Peroni doing well. He improved on his last lap. We're used to seeing Peroni up at the top end of the time sheets now, aren't we? Scott Ogden in P14, just scraping through. He had a bit of a weekend up until Sunday anyway to forget over in Barcelona, so to get jumping straight into Q2 was needed, as we said, for the number 19.
Yeah, dogged and determined Scoggers there, coming through right at the end to go in to Q2 directly, but they all chase the Leopard Racing Honda. It's a 1-2. David Almanza, P1, Adrian Fernandez up there in second, and Joel Kelso completing your top 10. Pinging Piqueras 12, but keep an eye on Piqueras and Quiles, because there was a little bit of after a little turn 1 incident. Foggia straight in, Ogden scraping in, Luca Lanetta going out in 15th place. So unfortunate from the Italian. Even worse luck for Alvaro Carpe. Mechanical problems keeping him out of the final part of that session. 25th and Q1 for the rookie. Now, let's go and find someone to repair the chair. Just in time for Lewis Sotheby to move in. Neil Morrison likewise. Moto3 done. Myself, Keegan Giles and Elliot York. We're off for lunch. Enjoy Moto2.
Good afternoon, everybody. Uneventful afternoon it's already been. Both on perhaps the biggest damage done so far on this Friday, which has seen its first share of crashes, is to the commentary box chair to my right, which is now missing a pretty sizable panel, sending the bill to a Mr. K. Giles for that one. But Moto2 will continue despite the drama where we're sat, with pre-practice, or practice 2, should I say, still to come after pre-practice 1 earlier on today. A pre-practice 1 session topped by the Moto2 World Championship leader, Manu Gonzalez. Well, that is his customary Friday form, it has to be said, particularly first thing on a Friday morning. He generally tops the first session of the weekend. Today was no exception. This is the session where it all truly counts. This is the session where Q2 places are on the line. Slip up here. You could find yourself in a world of trouble when we go qualifying tomorrow afternoon. Sunny San Marino for our Friday afternoon's entertainment. Weather was absolutely miserable when we arrived here 48 hours or so ago. Grey skies, rain falling. That fortunately has moved away, and apart from some iffy forecast potentially for Sunday, we're not expecting any further rain until that point at the earliest. Manu Gonzalez will certainly be glad to hear that news after topping this morning's free practice 1 session, just a smidge away from the all-time lap record set here last year. Jake Dixon second, continuing his recent upturn in form. Diogo Moreira, strong start for him in third. Celestino Vietti, twice a former pole sitter here, in fourth. Serragius, time Grand Prix winner Danny Holgado, Ethan Cavara, Barry Baltus all inside the top 8. Marcos Ramirez ninth, ahead of the slightly injured, I think that's perhaps a mild way of putting it, Aaron Canet, after the crash out of Barcelona last weekend. The other big names slightly down the order. David Alonso, as always, a little bit of a slow burner through a Moto2 weekend, although he does generally get there by the time we get to the business end of Sunday. He was 18th earlier on today. Joe Roberts, he was 1 place further back in 19th place. It's the biggest name out of position at the end of free practice 1 this morning, as you just saw. 30th place, no lap time set, was Colin Vaya, who of course was on the front row you go in Barcelona. He's already put himself slightly behind the 8 ball here this weekend after a crash at turn 12. First thing this morning, Lewis Sotheby and Neil Morrison with you for Moto2 practice. 40 minutes to decide 40 names that will go through straight to qualifying 2. As always, so relaxed. Manu Gonzalez, the World Championship leader, off to a flyer, although that is generally what we come to expect from Manu Gas on a Friday morning.
Yeah, it's his default setting in 2025. Start the weekend off strong and look pretty unflappable no matter what circumstance you find yourself in. It's a pretty good situation for Manu Gonzalez after a very strong start to the day. Less so potentially for this rider here. David Alonso, the victor 2 risks ago back in Hungary. And one of the sort of quiet stars, I think you could say, of Barcelona 1 week ago when he made a fairly heroic comeback from so deep on the grid. Managed to gain a quite ridiculous 17 places from 25th on the grid to finish in 8th. And as Lewis said, a bit of a slow starter earlier today, but I think this session should be more of a gauge for where Alonso is currently at, and it's going to be pretty much an FP1 for Colin Vaya, even though we've already had the first session off the weekend. Dutchman crashed in very early stages of today, and you can see just under his right eye there, it looks as though Colin has had maybe a consequence of some gravel potentially coming up into his helmet. I'm not too sure, but the Dutchman had to sit out, unfortunately, pretty much all of the first session of the weekend, and we'll be starting afresh here.
Well, we did see in the immediate aftermath of the crash his visor was hanging off, so yeah, potentially a stone or something has made its way through the visor. It didn't hit Colin in the eye, just been below the eye, but already carrying some war wounds through this weekend. We've certainly seen Vaya in the best form of his Moto2 career in recent rounds, so I would expect it's going to take a little bit more than that to throw him off his stride. What about Aaron Canet then, who he doesn't look as if he's feeling any pain at the moment, looks as calm and contemplative as he usually is before a Moto2 session gets underway. Crashed out of the Catalan Grand Prix, continuing what has been a bit of a summer slump for the 44. 5 Grand Prix now since we last saw him on a podium, and none of the results since then have even been a top 5. 6th in Hungary is his best result since the summer break. That is why Aaron Canet comes here, not only with a quite literal pain in the neck, but also with a 38-point championship deficit to close down.
Yeah, 16 points from the last available 100 for Canet. It's just not good enough at this crunch point of the season. He really needs to get his act together if he wants to win his first World Championship. 2 months' time. I saw Danny Holgado looking on. He was another strong starter to the weekend here. Holgado was impressive in 6th this morning. And Jake Dixon, I think, will be very in with how his weekend got underway. 6, a very competitive. 26, a very competitive second, and had a really strong second half.
In action on the Andipper ART machine, the ART in that team name does stand for American Racing Team.